Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another fun looking puzzle in front of us. This one is called Crack the Code by Matt Tressel. And it's a very well rated puzzle, so hopefully and I'm sure it will turn out to be a great puzzle. So with that said, let's take a look at this thing and get into the directions and all that kind of good stuff. So what do we got? We've got normal Sudoku supply. Every row, every column, every 3x3 box contains digits 1 through 9 once each. Then we've got Thermo Loops, which is not something I guess we've seen specifically labeled as this before. At least I haven't. So gray lines in the grid must contain at least 1 1 and 1 9. Digits on the line must strictly increase from the 1s to the 9s in both directions. Actually, now that I think about it, I think we might have had a thermo like this before. And if I remember correctly, I might have messed it up at some point. So that's always a great thought. But I think that's correct, but I can't recall at the moment. But I do believe we have done a thermo similar to this once before. Anyway, so what does that mean? I didn't even get into that. So it means that we've got these, we'll use the ones we actually have digits. We have these long loops of thermos where digits must increase in either direction, or it says in both directions actually. Digits on the line must strictly increase from the 1s to the 9s in both directions. Yes, so we have a 1 and a 9 on here. So it means that this digit, and this isn't necessarily only 9 within this loop from here to here or here to here, but we'll just use it as an example. So if we were to say this is the 1, we need to get to a 9, we just have to increase those digits as we go. And obviously you can see there must be something in between, but we're not going to get into that now because that is not part of the rules, or at least the description of rules that I like to do. So anyhow, so all we're going to know is that these thermos increase from this 1 in both directions. The 9, it decreases in both directions. Then we have killer cages. So digits in a cage must sum to the value indicated in the top left corner. We've got 4 of those. So each one of these, pick one you ever like. These 2 digits have to add up to 10. The other ones have to add up to what is shown in their corners. Then we have even squares. So digits in a large gray square must be even. The small gray square is decorative. Okay, so this is the small gray square here, I guess. These are the large gray squares. They must be even digits. And then we have partial Kropki, which I've not heard before. Oh, it just means that they're only using the white. Okay, that makes complete sense now that I read what's going on here. So digits separated by a white dot are consecutive. So these guys are all consecutives. And the use of the partial just means that we're not using both the white and the black Kropki dots, just the white Kropkis in this case. So with that said, those are all the rules. Thermo loop is nice because it's, like I said, it's something I think we've done once before, but it's been quite a while now at this point, and it's not something I see often, or at least the ones that I've been looking at in my endeavors. So anywho, with that said, links in the description below. Let's get started on this thing and see if we can figure it out. So, what do we got? I don't know that we can necessarily do much with our cages. I think we're going to start with our thermo loops. So, okay, so here's we have to figure out. We have a gap between this 1 and this 9. There's going to have to be another 9 before we get to this 9, at least one more 9, I should say. It could be multiple 9s, which means if we have to put another 9 in here somewhere, we also have to put another 1 in here somewhere. So what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This would be the very furthest away we could put another 9. And then 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1, 9, something like that is what we need to be doing. So how do we figure that out is the question. And we could also probably do the negative, but let's look at the 1 going up first, just because that's where I started. So I'm sure both have some deductions that we can make with them, but let's start with the 1s. So we said 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's put a mark here. This is just for demonstration purposes to keep my mind straight. If we were to continue up through here in a bare minimum, we would end up being 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, that causes a problem, doesn't it? Because we have a 15 clue here, and the 15 clue does actually come in and help us here, because the only two options are 9, 6, and 8, 7. Now, obviously, we can't use the digits 2 through 8 and still be able to make this 15 work. So this cannot end up going to an 8. So we have to have a 9 somewhere within this area. But this 9 here obviously states that none of these can be 9s. So there has to be a 9 in one of these, which means there is no 9 here, which means this is not a 9, 6. So we have to find the location of a 9 somewhere in here. And do we want to mark that? I think I'll mark it just to put it there. And then I think what we'll need to do is probably need to start thinking from the other directions as well, to maybe try to sort out what the options or the limitations of our options for some of these are. So let's look up this way, because again, we're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Obviously, we can't do that because this has to have from a 1, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, 3 are the only options. So we need to skip 2 of these digits. Well, or it could be just one digit if the 4 is here. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kind of thing. But we come to the same conclusion. We can't ever use a 9 in one of these. So one of these must be 9. So we end up, well, I guess neither one of these can be 9 either. Let's get that out of the way as I look back on that. Because I was thinking, well, we don't have Kropki here that we can do any information with, but we do here. If we put a 9 on the Kropki, we have to put an 8, and that breaks the puzzle. Now, let's think further, because we have to get up to a 9 at some point, and then we're going to have to start coming back down again. But that doesn't seem like it does too much. The only thing, and there's so much room here. Actually, I don't even know why I'm wearing these glasses. I don't see as well with those close up as I do with these. That's I don't see why we have, or why, not why, how we can determine this much further, because we can easily have these be any 3 digits between 9, as long as we don't break this 5. Now, let's think about our 9 coming back this way then, and what may or may not occur. Or it could be better to think about it this way too, but let's do one quick look at this 9. Well, that's not true. This can very well be 9, and this would jump down to something else. We just can't put a 7, 8 pair here. So if this is 9, let's say, let's think about the bare minimums of what we can do. This would have to be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There doesn't really appear to be any issue with that, because then we can just continue back up for a little while. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if this was a 9 and this was just as the bare minimum could be, and this was a 1, which I guess, well, it doesn't have to do that either, does it? I'm trying to think in multiple different ways at the same time, and it's messing with my head. But if this is a 9, we essentially are given what's going on here, almost. But I guess we could always just kind of stop at a 1 some point and then start back over. Okay, let's move away from that. Logic just not getting me right now. Let's think about it this way. We again have our 9, 6, 8, 7 grouping. So we know this 1 is going to have to come into play, because obviously we can't have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We know none of these are 1s, so if one of these must be a 1. So we have, it looks like we're going to have multiple 1s and 9s between these two. So let's say we even get to this 9. We can't get back to this 1 in one shot. because we can't have 8, 7, so we 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we have a 9. We're going to have a 1 at some point. We're going to have a 9, and then we're going to have another 1 to a 9, I think is how we're looking at this. So if that's the case, it means there has to be another 1 in here somewhere, doesn't it? Let's think about that again, just to make sure. If we have the 9 here, we're looking at 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This could be a 1. I'm just going to put a mark here, just again as reference. If this is a 9, looking at 6, 5, 4 as our minimum, but we clearly can't then transition into a 1, so one of these has to be a 1. But I guess it could be any of these, really, because obviously this one isn't a 1. So let's mark that. So we have that. Nope, wrong button. We have that. So we're going to have a 9 to a 1 transition. Then we're going to need a 1 to a 9 transition at some point. Since we already have a 9 in here, we can't have another 9 here. This 9 says there's not a 9 in those, so one of these is a 9, which then again removes our 9, 6. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So the question is then, where do we take that further as to where the 9 can actually go? Because if think about, can this be a 9? Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to be, because this could be a 9, and we could look at like a 2-1 pair. And then it is any digit, again, that gets between the 1 and the 9. I mean, the 1 could even be right here. It doesn't have to be any digits between the 1 and the 9. So this could be a 9, this could be a 6, 5, 1, something along those lines. Okay, so without going down too many random options, let's start thinking about this 9 going this way. Now, this 10 is not quite as useful, is it? In terms of what these 15s could do. But I guess it still creates enough issue. Because again, we go for 9, 8, 7, 6. Well, if we just did that, we've already broken this. Because we have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Obviously, the 1 can't go anywhere of these. So in this instance, we have to have a 1 in somewhere in this grouping. And we do have to hit a 1 on here, because we have to again change directions. Because again, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We can't ever get to beyond this point to switch. So we have to switch, which means we're going to have to again get back into a 9 at some point in one of these. Now, if we got a 9 in one of these, we're going to have to get back into a 1. This one can't be a 1, so one of these is going to be a 1, so we can switch back before we get back to our 9. So there's no 1, 4 here. This is a 2, 3 pair. Okay, so we've broken down quite a few things, and this 10 actually, because we have the 7, 8 here, we can't have 9, 1, we can't have 8, 2, or 7, 3. This must be a 6, 4. Okay, so we've got the basics down for how we're transitioning between digits. How do we now take that to the next level? That's a good question. Because I guess what we can start thinking about is, and it's probably more useful to think about these guys that have the white Kropkis, is that we have to fill in all of these groupings with digits other than what obviously are in our killer cages. So how do we do that? think about that for a second. So if we were to put, it seems like there's just a lot of options that there could be, though, still on these. So, well, okay, I guess what we can say is, and I didn't think about this, I did think about it for a second, but I kind of ignored it. Where do the 1s and 9s go on the rows and columns? Well, they clearly can't be in any of these, so these are 1-9 pairs. So we can therefore say that this is a, well, these are 2 and 3, so therefore the middle digit is a 5. These are 4 and 6. Now, figuring that out, and we can figure these 2 digits out, have to be from 7 and 8. That might be enough information to help us figure out our white Kropkis. Because again, we have to have some sort of pairing in both of these, but we've got some digits now that are going to limit what those possibilities are. So let's take a look at those. Let's start up here, I guess. Now, obviously, we can't have a 1, 2 here. We could have 2, 3, 3, 4. Well, I guess there's a lot of it we could have here. Because the 4, 6 isn't as incredibly useful because they're not consecutive. Although it does rule out a 5 on them. But we still have the possibility of that 2, 3, 3, 4. No, it doesn't rule out a 5. 4, 5. It could be 5, 6. Or even up to 6, 7. So there really is a ton of options here. And I don't think, yeah, the same is going to be true over here, I guess. Now, I guess we have to think about these in terms of how our operation is working. Because if we, where we switch is going to be important, isn't it? So if we have this be a 9, let's say, we've just instantly turned from 1 to 9. We have to go down until we get to a 1, but it could be almost anything as we previously stated on this. And then once we got to the 1, we have to get back up before we get to, okay, so these 7s and 8s are actually more important than I first thought. Because if this is a 7 or 8, these 2 can never be 9s. Because we're going to be 7 or 8. The most we can do would be 8, 9. And then we don't transition again until we at least get here. So this is not 9. This is a 1, which means this is a 9. These are not 1s. These are not 9s. Now we know wait, that breaks it. No, it doesn't. This is 9. There's no other way because we can't put 7 right here. We have to come back down to our 1, and then we have to go back up to our 9. Okay, that does work. So this is just essentially anything from 6 to 2, and then we have to come back up. Let's look at it from the other sides and see if we can also work out the same. So we've got a 9 here, so we have to be going upward, again, from the 7 to the 8. That means neither one of these can be 9. Therefore, this is 1. This is 9. Let's get rid of those. And this can't be 9 either, because it has to be either 7, 8, 9, or 7, 9, or 8, 9, just by itself. Then, what about looking back at our 1s? Or maybe we can look at how we can get from this 9 to this 1. And maybe a similar situation occurs here. We've now reduced what this can be a little bit, because it could still be from 9 to 6, 5. So let's think about this. 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3 is the only possibilities that this will work before we get to here. So we end up with a 2, 3, or 4 as an option. What else now do we have left? Okay, so we know, okay, that's interesting if we think about that, because we now know that we have these digits that are within 1 to 6. We have one of those that are not in here because this is 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only 4 of those 5 digits. And if we look at the 7, 8 pair, we know we have to put another 7 or 8 in here. So it's either going to happen here, and this becomes the 9, and then whatever the leftover digit is comes here, or we have the 8 with the 9, and then we hit the leftover 7 or 8 in one of these two. Okay. Let's look at, again, we have to kind of go back and forth a lot on this one. So let's look at one of these other ones. We have to get from 1 up to 9. We can't do anything that breaks this 2, 3. So this can't be a 2, 3 pair. So we're looking at a 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Well, it can't go up to 6. So this can't be 5. So it's either 3, 4, or 4, 5, which essentially gives us a 4. And this has to be either 5 or 6. So let's put the one of those as being a 4. Now, again, kind of similar like this. I'll come back here in a second, but similarly to what we did over here, this guy leaves, or this column leaves us with a 7, 8. So we have to have another 7, 8 in one of 7 or 8, whichever one's left over. So it's either the 7 or it'll be 9, 8, 7 that way. And then a 1 with something, or it's here, or this is the 1, and then the 7 or 8 is up here. Okay. There has to be a 2 in this, so it has to come after the 1. And then this is whatever's left over from this 3, 4, 5, 6. So that 2 gives us a 3 and a 2. Okay. What next? Let's look at this one, I guess, because we've done the other ones. We might as well go here, right? So what do we got going here? We'll do it step by step. So it could be 2, 3. Can't be 3, 4. Can't be 4, 5. Can't be 5, 6. Can't be 6, 7. And it certainly can't be 7, 8. So this is only a 2, 3. And this is what? It could be 5, 7, or 8. Those are our options here. And then we're going to have, again, we either have a 7 or an 8 up here. We know we have one of the 7s or the 8s, sorry. We have a 9, and then we have something else. Whatever's left over from this guy is what it would be. Well, that doesn't... This has to just be 7, 8, doesn't it? Because if we put a 5 in here, we would be forced to have 7, 8, 7 or 8, 7 or 8, 9, 7, or 8. Because all that's left in here is 5, 7, 8, and 9. So therefore, this must be of the 7, 8, because we have to put the 5 up here somewhere. Which means one of these two is the 5. Why? I didn't do that. This has to be from the 78. I accidentally clicked the wrong button. So if there's a 5 up here, there's no 5 up here. So therefore, the only way this works is 4 down to 3, which gives this as a 2. This must be 6 and 4. These are from 5, 7, 8, 9. And we know what these guys are, and they're going to have to be in a certain order. So let's go there first. This one is going to have to be our 1. And then we got a 5 and a 6, and they have to go from the high down to the low. Good. Again, these can be... Well, this can't be our 5, could it? This has to be the 5. Because if this is the 5, what do we put here? Nothing. That's right, this is 5. And these are from 7, 8, and 9. Okay, we're moving here. We've got some digits we can work with. This guy, where does the 3 go is a better answer. It must go here, which means this is a 4. This is either a 5 or a 6 to pick up what's left over. And we can start to look at these guys and these guys now to see how they might work. So whatever these are, they're going in ascending order. There has to be a 4 somewhere. And that's the next digit in line from a 1. So this is our 4. Then we have some combination of 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course they have to go in this direction. And we can probably do something similar this way. So let's think about that. We have to go from 9 up. So if we were to put a 1 here, what does that do? Doesn't do anything really. If we're going 9 down, if we think about it that way, can we make that determination there? It seems like there's a couple of options there that we didn't have the Kropki dot to help us out there. And I know I haven't even looked at these yet, and I'm going to do that in a second, but I wanted to take this as far as I possibly could. So we think about this grouping. It's from 1, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it has to go in some order. But the specific order is actually hard to tell because the transition can occur at any time. So I'm not going to put those in. That looks like it's too much work to try to figure all that out. So let's now look at these guys, or let's look at Sudoku and see if we get anything that helps us there. I don't know that we have a ton that are starting to poke their head into here yet, though. The other way to look at it would be these are evens, even squares. Let's do that real quick. Is there anything we can rule out from any of those? We really can't. That's interesting. This is not a 4. So let's look at what could possibly happen. We know there's no 9s in any of these, so one of these is a 9. This can't be a 9. I almost said it could be because of the fact that we've got moving thermos, but because this is also on Kropki's, this could not be a 9. So one of these is our 9, which means none of these are 9s, which means one of these is. Now we can't necessarily rule this one out because it could be 9 to 8. No, it can't be. If we look down here, if this is 9, that forces this to be 8. And both of these have to be 7s. So that's not 9, this is. Good. Now we can look down here maybe, or here. This side's going to be better. One of these is our 9. Now that same little trick we can't quite do here, I don't think, because this could be a 9, 8, and this could be our 7. Okay. And again, down here, we don't have quite enough information to try to finalize those guys. Okay. Now then, where's our next step? Okay, this can't be a 9. If we look back at the 8, 7, if this is a 9, this is a 9, 8, 7. That breaks. So this is not 9. This is 9. Which means that's not 9. Now, we don't necessarily know which direction these go in yet. And that didn't do much for this. Okay. So we're going to have to figure out one of these guys. This one seems like it's going to be the most interesting as to what could possibly go in it. But how would we determine that? I wonder if the 4s might get ruled out of one of these, but it doesn't appear like it does. We know we have to have 3 digits in a row, but we really could go from a lot of things. 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. Well, it can't be 6, 7, 8. So I think it means there has to be a 5 in one of these if we think about that again. Because the 1 and the 2 are out. So we're looking at 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7. Again, we can't get into the 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8. So there is a 5 in one of these two. Which means none of those are 5, which means one of these is 5. Yippee, right? So if one of these is a 5, let's think about how that affects things. And does it? Maybe we need to think about how the 1 in this one interacts, because one of these is a 1. So depending on where we put this 1 is going to determine how the patterning works. But we do kind of know the flow. So we're going to have lows over here, highs over here. So wherever the 1 is going to increase up to the 9 this way and this way. The 2 almost helps too, but we can put a 2 in this even square. So we can't rule that guy out. Okay, there's got to be something in here we can now work out. Let's think about it for a second. Again, if we think about 1s, there's a lot that can go in here. It'd be nice to be able to figure out which ones of these are the ones. So if we were to put a 1 here, let's say, this well, no, I guess it can be. I'm going to try to prove that this couldn't be a 9. By how it has to reduce in both directions. But I think that only applies in a specific situation, or maybe a couple of situations. Let's say this was a 1, this would be a 5. So we'd have some combination to get up to a 9. But it could be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But if we did that, we'd have the 9 and 8. So that's the situation where that doesn't seem to work. If this is the 5 and this is the 9. That said, Okay, got a little bit of a snag here. Trying to figure out how to differentiate the last little bit, because I think if we get one more thing determined in one of these groupings, we're going to be able to get the rest of it to work as well. And I think this is going to just be our last little bit to finally crack the thing. So let's think about this a little harder. Is there a way to reduce what these are? I guess we know no matter what, this is descending. Can we think about what that can be? I think we're going to get into a lot of options if we keep going down that road, but maybe not because of the placement of the 5. Let's think about it. Can this ever be a 7-6? I think it certainly can. Because we could have 7-6. This could be some low-ish digit. Say a 2. And then come into our 1, and then our 5, and then come back up again. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. Well, we know this can't be 7-8. Let's get rid of that option. This can't be 8. So we're looking currently at 9-8-7-6. It can't be a 6-5 because 5 is over here. So this actually seems to be the only possibilities for these. If this is a 9, it forces this to be 8. This can't be an 8 because it forces this to be 7. This could be a 7 to get this to 6, but this can't be a 6 because we can't ever put a 5 over there. Okay. The 3 then. 3 has to go up here because it can't go in any of these. So this has a 5 and a 3 in it, which means it has to be, well, it's either 3, 4, 5, or no, it has to be 3, 4, 5. Because from the 9, it has to be going downward. So if it has a 3 in it, this has to be 5, this has to be 4, and this has to be 3. And there's going to be a 1 in one of these places, which we already knew. This can't be a 4 anymore. This is from 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Did that give us much? This can't be 4. So we have some more digits now. Let's go back and look at our Sudoku and see if there's not something that's... Well, I guess we know there has to be a 1 and I didn't even think about that on this guy. There has to be a 1 and a 9 on it. So one of these is 9. That would have been the easier way to look at it because it says must contain at least 1 and 1 9. Forgot about that being a requirement. So this is not 9. So this is 7, which means this has to be 6 and this has to be 9, which gives us the 8 and the 7. Now, if we've got a 6 here, we have to transition. Well, not necessarily. We don't necessarily have to put a lower digit here before hitting our 1 and then coming back up again. Okay. We also know what, well, one of these has to be a 1, but that's not very helpful. Let's look at Sudoku again real quick. And think of it in, well, I need one more 1, honestly, to be able to kind of figure something out up here, I think. So let's look elsewhere for a moment. Well, we know there's a 1 and a 2 on here to go with our 9. That 7 actually gives us an 8 and a 7 here. The 6 gives us a 5 and a 6. I wasn't paying attention again to my Sudoku. These are not 6s. We have a 7, 8 pair there now, so this is a 5. 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's put these in and see what's going on. So we've got the 1. We have to have a 6 on here somewhere. We have to have a 7 or an 8. We had put those in previously. I think we had a 4 or 5 also possible there, but the point of this is what? We're either going from 9 down to a 1 somewhere up here, then coming right back up. Well, I guess we could have ruled out this being a 9. Well, no, we can't, because it could be... Okay. Brain is short-circuiting there for a second. Okay, let's think further now that we have some... One of these is a 5. We do have some extra digits now, so we can start to look a little bit more broadly. Might have jumped the gun slightly previously. There has to be a 3 in one of these. That could be quite useful. Let's take it a little further before we determine which is which. One of these is a 4. This can't be a 6, by the way, or an 8, so it's just a 2. That's better. Okay, that's not a 2 anymore then. I think we're very close here. It's just kind of winding down what's left over. So I'm going to continue once again with our possibilities in Sudoku world. Let's see if we can find something easier to work with. This is not a 5. I know there's something in here we can probably do, but I just want to go through this exercise real quick. One of those is a 6. One of those is not great. We can start putting digits up here, I'm sure, and down here. That doesn't do much for us. What about those 9s? I think we're in the X-wing of 9s. Okay. So we're gonna have to figure out these orders here. We're gonna have to get through all this and do all the options or what have you, what can work and what can't work. So let's think about these. These have to be coming downward. There's multiple ways this could work here. These have to be coming downward. This can't ever be a 4. I think that's the answer here. Because if this is a 4, what is this? It can't be 1, it can't be 2, and it can't be 3. So we can't ever get down any further. So this is not 4, this is 4. We therefore know that we could either be 3, 1, back up to... We had to get an 8 in here somewhere, by the way. These are a 1, 3, 5 pair, essentially. So this is 8, which means this is 6. This is not 6. This is a given digit of 1. That's good. I was hoping for another 1. Let's get rid of these ones. We'll come back to this stuff in a second. Again, these are a 1, 3, 5 pair. What is this? It's because it's going to have to go in a specific order, and then we can just put it in. So we have to be going in an upward direction. This has to be 2. Then we have 7 and 8. This can't be 7. This can't be 8. This can't be 6. Hopefully this will get drowned out enough where we can make some decisions there. Although I don't necessarily see it right off the bat. This is either 1 or 3. This is 1, 3, or 5. And this is it this just the 5? Because it can't be 1 or 3. Yeah, this is the 5. So we have to be able to... That doesn't really give us that answer, does it? Because this being a 1, 3 pair like that, it can either be 4, 3, 1, 5, or it can be 4, 1, 3, or 4, 3, 1, 5, or 4, 1, 3, 5. Both of those work. So we're going to have to figure out what these other things are to solve that portion of it. Okay, we're getting there. We're almost there. Our 1s, right, we had gone back to 1s. Where can the 1 go? Has to be in one of these 3 bases. And what else must it do? Now, these must be coming downward. So this cannot be a 4. So let's get rid of that. So this is a 4, 5 pair here. This has to be from 6, 7, or 8. It has to be coming in a downward position. So this is 5, this is 4, which forces this to be 6. Therefore, this is not. That's a 7, 8 pair. This is 1, this is 6. Good. Now, we have to be coming down. This is not 1. So these both have to be coming in a downward direction. So this has to be something lower than a 4. So 3 or 2. This could be 1 or 2. This has to then come back up. So we're going to have a, well, the 2, 8 grouping here kind of, well, no, we do get the 8 here tells us this is 8. Therefore, we know we have to have a 7 right here, I believe, because this has to be coming down to some place in the 1. So this is 7. These are a 1, 2, 3 grouping, and this can't be 3. So this is 3. This is 2 and 1. That gives us 2 and 3. That means these are not 1s. This is not a 2, so this is a 2. Good. That 4 gives us 6 and 4. This is not 8. This had to be going upward. No, I don't think we can quite solve that just yet. What are these 3 digits? And these 3. So we'll probably get this digit in the corner. We have to have 3, 4, and 8. This has to be the 4. Good. And then the 8 gives us the 3 and the 8. And these 2 digits have to be what? 6 and 7. This is 7. This is 6. This can't be 7 anymore. And we have what left over? This is a 9, 5 pair. This is the 1. So this is 5 and 9. This is actually just 3 and 1. And if we know this is 5 and 9, this 5 tells us what's what. 9 and 5. Therefore, this is 7, 8, 9, 8, and 7, and 8, and 7. Hopefully that's good. You saw the puzzle solution is correct. Whew, that was a good puzzle. It definitely took a lot of work to try to figure out our options on some of this stuff. But once we started getting moving, it seemed to work out quite well. And we could figure out, once we started looking at the right areas, because we had to jump around quite a bit, but we found exactly where we needed to look to be able to solve puzzles. So that was a great puzzle. Loved it. Thank you, Matt Tressel, again for another wonderful puzzle. Hope you all enjoy this one. As always, I did as well. And see you next one. Thanks a lot.